And go.
Welcome to the third episode of the Angry Guppy Podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. We appreciate all the feedback you've given us. And thanks for sending those songs. We just launched last week's episode this morning, but we've already got a few songs that you guys have suggested.
Some good ones.
What's that?
There was the two that have been submitted were good ones too.
Yeah. Tonight we have a special guest, which is our dear friend Claire O'Leary, who is also a race ambassador for Angry Catfish. Thanks for being on the pod tonight, Claire.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. This week we're not going to ask you anything crazy from our listeners, but we kind of want to keep on having those song requests come in. And
song requests, and if you do have any topics you'd like to see covered, or
if you want to be a guest.
Or if you have any guest suggestions.
Yes.
Send them on over.
Oh, we actually got one from one of our listeners. He mentioned that we should talk about banned substances like marijuana.
I did see that. Yeah. I saw that briefly, yeah. Like banned substances that shouldn't be banned. Yep. I think that'd be a really good topic and fun topic to cover.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, we should have Hollywood on the pod or something.
Yeah, 100% we should do that. And have that conversation with Hollywood.
Since he got banned for having pot in his body. A high amount.
Oh, that's amazing. We absolutely should.
Anyways, let's roll into it. I guess this will start with how did you get into cycling?
Okay, so we're ripping the Band-Aid off right away.
Yep.
I think a lot of people probably know that I started out as a runner, ran high school and college cross country and track, did that whole thing, did the whole ultra trail thing.
And you weren't cycling at all during that at all?
When I would get injured, you'd ride the stationary bike and you'd hate
Sure.
your life. And then as soon as you could run again, you'd never touch bike.
And that's just for runners, only because I'm not familiar at all with that. That's like a form of active recovery, correct?
Or cross training if you're injured and you can't run at all.
Okay.
Yep. That and commuted a little bit, but on an old triple ring road bike from circa 1990. So not really much of anything as far as cycling. And then around 2018, my older brother is really involved in the racing scene out in New York State, and he sent me a postcard that in part said, buy a bike and do a real sport. Oof. So yeah, we started there. I was actually back east for a work trip, went up and visited family. They happened to have a cyclocross race that weekend. At the time, they had a program where they had free clinics, borrow a bike fleet, and free entry for anyone to try cyclocross.
That's pretty sweet because I feel like that's not a thing that really happens.
That's unheard of. Yeah.
I know. It was.
This is when the cyclocross boom was a thing, and not that cyclocross is really dead in the U.S., but it really kind of is.
Yeah. It was called Tricross with Nycross. So I did that. By the time we had even driven the hour home from the race back to my brother's house, I was just in love. I was so bad. I just want to be very clear. There is YouTube footage of me taking out all of the tape and my brother running around with a GoPro.
We might have to get a clip of that and put that in the YouTube video.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You
Enter here.
You just need my brother's voice being that's what course repair is for. You're fine. And then in the background, he's just snorting.
Look at that form, Claire. Brakes, 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 brakes. You're fine. That's what we have course repair for. Just get yourself untangled. Claire, just run it down the hill. Run down the hill.
But I fell in love with it. I came back home. He actually knows a prominent FTW member of the race community here in Minneapolis. There was some texting and some colluding, and long story short, the next week was Starcross, and they found a bike for me to borrow. I raced Starcross. I bought my first cross bike after that. I thought cyclocross was everything. Eventually, I discovered I was really good at endurance stuff, actually, go figure. And the rest is history.
Yeah.
How many years ago, or when was that? When you like?
Very first race was 2018.
Okay.
I did a little bit of cyclocross in 2019, but I also had a stress fracture and was trying to do dismounts. Do not recommend, but mostly I'm your post-pandemic, Cyclist started in 2021.
Okay.
I know that you talked about your injury a little bit, but what kind of running were you doing? I know you said trail running, but how long of distances were you running?
I did a 50 miler in 2019, and I was training for another one. Those running 50, so I ran 50 miles before I ever rode 50.
Okay.
That was kind of my claim to fame
Wow.
for a little bit.
That's wild.
Which is a long run.
I can't even imagine running a half of that. So
For a long time, that was my longest activity ever, because I think that was about 9 hours. And that since has been far surpassed.
Sweet. Well, yeah, with the transition into cycling, it seems like you really enjoyed cyclocross, but what was really calling your name with endurance stuff? What was it? Gravel, mountain biking, or was it road biking?
I think mostly gravel. In 2022, in the spring, I had the opportunity to go to a FTW gravel camp that was actually held in Virginia's Blue Ridge Mountains. Brought a cross bike, didn't know that people actually ran really wide tires, but got to really, I dabbled in gravel a little bit the year before that, but that was the first time that I had ever descended a mountain on gravel. And getting to learn a lot of those skills, and starting to train more of okay, I'm gonna do my first century. And I came back from that, and 2 weeks later was Ragnarok. It was very muddy that year. I just winged it, and I'm oh, I really enjoy this.
Yeah, what was it like descending a mountain gravel road? I don't know if I've ever done that.
on 33.
Yeah.
I had a 35 in the front.
Oh, it's okay. So how was that?
I hit a rock midway down and popped a bottle, but a pro cyclocrosser who was riding as one of our mentors ended up getting it and stuffing in her bra and riding down the mountain with my second bottle.
That's amazing. Yeah, so I mean, I kind of introduced you as a friend of ours, a dear friend, but obviously we, as the three shop ambassadors, have been able to hang out a little bit, not too much, but, just hang out at races and kind of share race stories. To not introduce you, or to introduce you a little bit more, Claire had a fantastic season. Well, we'll get into it, but I'm proud of her being a part of the shop, just because
sure.
all the stuff she's able to accomplish this year.
Also,
And
it's important to note that that you're the only non-employee ambassador.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, thank you
Yeah.
for putting up with the antics between me and Josh.
You
being
know,
employees.
I love that. I love text messages popping up on my head unit, especially, at 3 a.m. during the dam.
Yeah.
Or just my chaotic photo shoots that I'm trying to get done for, the dam.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
right before we had to host a race that got canceled.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, seriously, for your patience with everything. I really appreciate it. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I mean, I really appreciate the change of pace, getting to jump in with content and stuff for you guys, because it's so much different than writing software documentation and content, which is what I do is my day job.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, like, what do you do for your day job? Since, like, we've only ever had me and Nick on the pod, and we're clearly bike shop employees, and also Steven on the pod, and he's
A bike shop employee.
Bike shop employee.
Yeah,
so.
we gotta expand.
Yeah, it's kind of pretty.
Okay.
Pretty
Yeah,
tall.
I take back what we said earlier. We need recommendations.
Yeah. But yeah, what do you do for your day job?
I'm a marketing writer for a software company, working downtown, kind of, enjoy riding to work and then darting to the freight elevator when it's done and kind of keep bike life and work life pretty separate, although work did catch wind of the dam, which was kind of funny.
What happened?
So I had a call at 8 a.m. on Monday morning after the dam, and it was a brutal topic under any circumstances, just dry and mundane. And my coworker started it. She had known that I had done it. She's like, "Oh, how was your weekend?" I'm like, "Good." I'm exhausted. And then she's like, "Yeah, how was the race? Did you win?"
Did she know that you won?
No.
Oh. And I feel like a lot of people, the dam is, 240 miles. It starts at midnight, and I feel like a lot of people just don't understand the craziness of that.
Well, yeah, the cycling community, that race specifically, I think the cycling community sees that as kind of the pinnacle in Minnesota of
for sure.
especially what it's trending towards, what it was this year coming back, and maybe some rumors that people have heard and I've heard, but it's trending to be just this, the most epic thing. So nobody else that people that don't ride or or don't race or don't really give a shit about racing, they don't really understand how crazy of a feat just getting it done is, just going across the state.
Yeah.
Some people hear it and they're like, "What? That's fucking nuts. Why would you ever do that?" But don't understand what goes into your planning and whatnot. So
yeah, we'll get into your dam recap.
Yeah.
I know you've already done another podcast, which was a great podcast. I'll link it in the description.
Who is that?
It was with John Peter from Stable Cyclist.
Yeah, that's right.
Really, really nice podcast. And
Really well done.
Yeah.
For sure.
A nice recap of your journey across Minnesota. But I was also going to kind of introduce you on what you've done for the FTW community here in Minneapolis, and a huge part of, you have the gravel camp, and then just being yourself, the ambassador for the FTWs in Minneapolis.
Just existing, yeah.
We kind of talked about it last week on the pod, and we were just all like, "Oh, we're glowing up, Claire." But you want to describe some stuff that the FTW gravel camp that you have. I'm not sure if that's still going to maybe happen next year or
TBD on that, but I can kind of talk about the genesis of it.
Yep.
So we called it Driftless Gravel Camp. So it started in 2022, and it was kind of, I talked about the Amy D Foundation camp that I got to do in Virginia, and I came back and I'm like, this is the coolest shit ever, and I want to start this here. I really, really was just motivated to create something like that here, because there just isn't that kind of space. It was the first time that fitness and skills and confidence had come together for me on the bike ever. And that was just so cool, and I wanted to be able to share that with other people. I didn't really know what I was doing. I had a lot of help along the way from a lot of different people, some local race promoters and people who have experience with events and insurance and all of that here. My brother, who, has experience heckling me, but also experience with events. We opened up an insurance permit on Christmas Day.
Oh, wow.
We got done with all the gifts and all the family stuff, and I'm like, okay, let's do it. Get the laptop out.
Man, that just there goes to show your passion for what you're doing, and that's really inspiring.
Yeah, so the first camp, we had 12 FTW cyclists. We did it at Winona. And it was just so cool. Like, I didn't know necessarily what to expect. I don't think anyone knew what to expect. But just seeing people come together and just, like, ask questions and what they did, and also following people on social media or, like, in interactions after, like, what they did from the end of April and how they used that knowledge and confidence throughout their year. And I think that was like double fold this year. So in 2023, we had 15 people. And I got to see quite a few of them, including sharing lodging with one person who I hadn't seen since camp. I saw her in August and we shared lodging, and it was really cool to like have her be my race mom that weekend after like that kind of reciprocal nature, and see everything she had accomplished. Like, she got DFL at Mid-South, like came to camp, and then her goal was like, I just want to see how far I can ride. And I've been so inspired by these people of like, I just want to make it up this bluff climb hill. Like, I don't care if I have to walk. Like, that everyone has their different bar, but like seeing everyone wanting to push in different ways.
Yeah, it's got to be really rewarding to just see the progression throughout the year, and then also the years past.
Yeah.
You know, just from being someone at the beginning of the gravel camp. So it's really awesome.
I think
For
what
sure.
struck me is like, especially with the first year, it's just kind of like a long tail return on investment. Like at first, like, you know, like a month later being like, oh, no one's racing. Like, is anyone really doing anything? Or did we all just like go back and like, you know, never touch a bike again? But like really that like long tail investment of you see it pan out after like, you know, 6 months or like the next year. A couple of people who are gravel camp alums finished the dam this year. I was so freaking proud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe you mentioned this, sorry, but did you, how many years have you been doing that?
We've
gravel
done
camp?
2.
So last year and this year.
Yep.
And you had 12 last year, and you had, you said 23 this year?
15?
15. Okay. That's awesome. And what did you learn last year that you brought into this year that you saw the most success with?
I think more of trying to like meet people where they're at, and from a personal level, not trying to do it all myself. We had a much more fleshed out team this year, including people who have like professional background in doing like education and stuff. And so we really fleshed out like having speakers on Zoom and like covering all the nitty gritty and like tires and equipment and whatever on Zoom, so that when we got there in person, like we could hit the ground running. And then I think on a personal level, like that team of awesome people let me spend more time on my bike this year, which I just really enjoyed. And I think the highlight of that was one person discovered I had the QOM on a descent from the pre-riding the week before. She's like, I'm going to go get that. And I'm like, you do you have fun. And then I realized we had an insurance permit open and I should probably supervise this.
So, I mean, we're on like in no way, shape, or form like limiting affiliation or like saying anything about sponsors. So, I mean, out of my own curiosity, I know a few of the sponsors that you had and like people that contributed, but can you like name, or feel free to, you know, I know Chase Works Cycling Service, and was Bonesaw involved the first year?
Yep. So
Or both years?
they came down and helped with SAG and setting up our community dinner. That's actually the coolest part. We did that both years. Having just a big community dinner, all genders, with everyone who helped and everyone who rode, including some like ride mentors who came down just for like our big Saturday adventure ride. And especially the first year, just we opened it up for like big family table, let's all eat our taco dinner and then ask questions.
Yeah.
And like definitely some questions came up, like someone who had never heard of chamois cream. And then we just devolved from there. But like the fact that they felt comfortable asking about that too was so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I guess talk about a little bit more about what was the structure of the camp? I know it was a 3-day right?
Yep.
So what was Friday night? Friday, Saturday, and Sunday looking like? What was the schedule look like?
Yeah, so to backtrack what Nick said about sponsors and stuff, the coolest part about it was it was completely free.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't charge anyone. And that was something that was really important to me too, just because like there are already so many barriers in cycling, like we don't need to add one, and there is so much community support and honestly people and brands that don't always know where to drive it towards.
Yeah, sure. That's huge, and that's a really good point.
So I'm going to miss sponsors, and I apologize, but first and foremost is Chase Work from Work Cycling Services, who actually like heard about the idea offhand and was the first person to say like, yeah, I'll help with that, do it in Winona, and it like that gave me the confidence to like go forth with the idea. Also Fulton Beer and the Fulton Grand Fondo, giving a huge amount of cash that really, you know, helped make all that possible. Groups like Bonesaw, Stamina Racing Collective, and even brands too, like we had expert speakers like Emily Brown from SRAM.
Was Emily there? Sorry, was Emily there last year and this year?
She spoke on Zoom. She didn't come in
Oh,
person.
okay. That's rad. I didn't.
Yeah.
I think I knew about that actually, but
She
yeah,
taught
awesome.
about like gear ratios.
Yeah.
Like we spent a long time on gear ratios.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so her, Erin Ayala from Scotty Sports Psychology, we had a couple of dietitians donate their time to talk about ride feel beforehand, really kind of emphasizing the idea that when you're well-fueled, everyone around you and you will have a better time.
Like an angry baby.
Yep, it's true.
Did I poop? Did I pee? Did I nap? Did I eat? Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. No.
Anyone
continue
else?
on
Sorry.
About the dietitians and then all the other people that were there.
Yeah, so the structure of camp. So I already talked about it a little bit. Not only was it like the 3 days in Winona, but also it was several Zoom sessions beforehand. We did them on Monday nights. I really hope it was the best Zoom call of everyone's Monday.
Sure.
But getting different speakers to talk, so like Emily talking about gear ratios and like really breaking it down and like what's the difference between 10 speed and 11 speed and 12 speed, like what's a quick link. Elena from the shop here coming down in person for this year and teaching all about roadside bike repairs. Like honestly, the first year they did it, I learned a lot. Like I didn't know how to make an emergency single speed. And then later that year, I was on a groom's gravel ride before a wedding when someone crashed. We had no cell service. He ripped off his derailleur. He's like a little post-concussion. The boys all eat Twizzlers while I make his bike into a single speed.
That's amazing.
That's rad.
So with the structure of camp itself being like we show up on Friday, it's like, you know, let names and pronouns and let's hit the ground running and like go do skills. Nice. So spending a little bit of time on like flat ground skills and like bumping too, especially side to side bumping.
Okay.
And like, you know, making the 5'2" people get next to the 6 foot person and be like, this is how you don't get your bars caught during a mass rollout. Like all of these things that to learn them on grass where the worst thing's gonna happen is like everyone's gonna fall over and laugh.
Yeah.
From there, doing descending practice, which
Was that on Friday still?
Yep.
Okay.
is my absolute jam, partially because the sweetest dogs you will ever meet live at the top of the hill. But also it just, like how many times during like a group ride or a race do you just kind of like send it down a hill you're doing blindly and you don't really know how to control your bike under you, especially if it is really fresh gravel. So being like, okay, we're gonna repeat it again and again. And then not ad nauseum climbing hills, but just enough time of like, okay, now you've seen it, now you know what that curve is like with a descending radius. Now let's use that knowledge. And then Saturday being our big ride, adventure ride day. So this year I led about a 60-mile route, and for a couple of people on the ride, it was the longest ride they'd ever done.
You said 60 or 16?
60.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then there were also shorter rides too, and like including like a 35-mile one that went like into the Cedar Valley that's just like super, super pretty. And like for some people that was their longest ride too. And like no matter
that's a day. 60 miles down there in Winona. That's a day.
Wow, yeah, I was gonna say if anybody's ever ridden down in Winona too, like it's just a very, very beautiful place to ride.
Some of my favorite riding is in the entire country is that area.
Yeah.
It's crazy that it's only a 2-hour drive from us.
We lucked out with weather, especially this year, but the wind, oh my goodness. I mean, what better way to teach like crosswind drafting? But it was rough.
Man, I feel like I need to have you come on my Monday night ride just so I can teach a few people how to properly draft and take some crosswinds.
Yeah.
No shade. Love you guys that come out.
I mean, it's something that, like, if no one has ever stopped and taught you, like, how are you going to know? And even, like, I've had women come over to, like, you know, get bike clothes or, like, use stuff that I'm just giving away. And we started talking about pace lines. And, like, all of a sudden I'm grabbing, like, picture frames and, like, using them and moving them through and trying to, like, show how it would work. Because, like, you don't know what you don't know, and if you're in one during a race and you like don't necessarily know what to do, like I've had people where I've like flicked an elbow, gone over, and then they jump behind me, and I'm like, what? But okay, in some situations it was like, you know, what? But in others, like they like legitimately had never done it before.
Yeah,
like tying back to like the FTW camp and stuff though, like I don't know how many times I've been on a fast group ride where I have been the only FTW with 30 dudes.
Yep.
And it's kind of that thing of like, well, I don't want someone to mansplain how to do a pace line to me.
Yep. Right. And that's the thing that's nice about the gravel camp. You are going over the kind of the basics of group riding, and also I think it's cool that you were doing like bumping, just to get them comfortable on like riding next to one another. You know, that goes a long way. I mean, for someone that doesn't ride a lot with people or have no race experience, like it's really important to know how to like coexist. And the thing is, like when you look at like a peloton on the TV, you're like, holy smokes, that looks chaotic. But all those people that are in that, they just know how to ride and flow, and it just like. It's like riding with traffic, you know, like it's very chaotic, but like once you kind of understand the flow, it's just easy to go with it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What a great opportunity for people that don't normally do that though, to like get to know those basics and like take that out into, you know, after a gravel camp and do that next to, like you were saying, next to men and like fucking own it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've yelled at people for opening up the gap during races, and like, or I'll go to plug it and, you know, I'll get a snip back of like, I was closing it. I'm like, really?
Were you? Were you really?
You sure about that?
You sure about that?
But yeah, I really believe that like confidence helps build community. So like with camp being people from all over the upper Midwest, you know, some of them might never see each other again or ever really talk to each other, but you can take that knowledge and that skills to, you know, go back to your own community and show up for that Wednesday night World's Gravel ride and like have the confidence to show up so that you can build that community.
Yeah. Well, that's a
huge.
really key point there
Yeah.
too. Well, I mean, that's what happened with the AMD gravel camp was you learned all this stuff and you're like, I got to do this at my home, and then you brought it to life. You're like, and hopefully all the people that go to that camp feel inspired to do that at their future.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like such a great opportunity. I feel like for people. I mean, I wish when I got into like competitive cycling, which I have never done any like massive road races or like UCI sanctioned gravel races even for that matter, but like to even just experience that and like get like resources, like who to follow on social media, or like what races are actually out there, or what, you know, you look at like Corpse Whale, Stamina, you know, all of the collectives that are out there that some people may have never even heard of before coming to that event, and now all of a sudden they're like not only a member of the community, or they feel like they can be a member of the community, but they're also like, fuck yeah, confident, and now I want to be part of this collective, or I want to go out and do something bigger and better and like build from that. And then that, I mean, I feel like that's how it's going to grow. That's huge. And
well, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
And that's your passion, and that's just so amazing.
Yeah. I had this really great conversation with someone the week after camp. I was just like kind of in that post-event blues a little bit, and talking with them, and they were talking about confidence, and their whole point was kind of like, you put confidence in someone and you don't get to choose what they do with it. They might go ride Unbound, or they might, you know, confront an abusive or alcoholic parent or something.
Sure.
You know, like they could use that confidence for anything, and like, you know, it transfers to different areas of people's life too.
Wow,
That's such a great perspective. Do you guys touch on any of that there at Gravel Camp? Just like the mental health side of that, and like what that like instilling that confidence could do. We
definitely, like in all the organic conversations and all of the dinners, but tying it all together beforehand, Erin Ayala from Scotty Sports Psychology did a Zoom session and kind of talking about goal setting, but also confidence of like, you know, how are you going to show up? What do you want to look like when you show up? Like, and everything like that. And I think that was huge, especially for people who are like, I'm going into my longest ride ever. I've never done this much climbing, etc.
Okay. So, I mean, I just like hearing you talk about it and learning more about it. Like, if one, can we talk about any future plans that you may have? And two, how can somebody that's not in the FTW community contribute or be involved, or help in any way from the sideline?
So as far as future plans, the long story short is I'm not sure, because everyone involved, you know, also has day jobs to pay their mortgage. Like, it is a lot of work. It's such a passion, but it, especially for me, it got to a point where I was either working, riding my bike, or sending emails about bikes, where it can be a little bit monopolizing on every corner of your brain.
For sure.
But like, I really, really do want to mentor in some way, whether it's mentoring people of any gender who want to do the dam, or doing a one-day clinic that might be a little bit less of a thing to take on than, you know, 3 whole days in a different part of the state. Like, TBD.
Okay.
The other part of like what people of any gender can do to help, I think it's like, you know, like you just being able to listen and like making a space so that anyone feels like they can ask questions. Because I think that's the biggest thing of like, you don't want to do things wrong. You don't want to ask because you don't want to be that one person who doesn't know. Like keeping from showing up just because you don't know what to expect. So even just, you know, for group rides, like kind of like setting expectations and like explaining like, oh, we're going to do a pace line. Oh, we're going to have stops in this places, and not, you don't know what you don't know, so don't expect everyone else to know.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean,
Thank you.
I don't.
Mic drop.
No, it's good. I mean, that, you know, I knew a lot about the gravel camp and everything, but I'd also learned a lot just from listening there for a second, and it's just like, it's got my brain turning and thinking like, wow, like, you know, man, maybe my group ride I need to, you know, teach some people how to do some certain things. And that's kind of where, after this year and doing it last year, I really would like to kind of keep that group of people that come on my Monday night ride to learn how to ride as a proper group, because usually what it is right now is like, it's just I'm on the front end, just like kind of babysitting essentially.
And I think it still is more of like a very much like a social ride as opposed to like a true training ride that I've been on, at least.
Anyways, I like maybe next year I need to like actually, you know, the first couple of weeks, like, all right guys, we're gonna go out here and we're gonna learn how to ride in a group and as a pace line, and you know, it's just cool to hear, and it gets me kind of intrigued and stoked, like, to help people out, because like, you know, I obviously I've coached people before, but that's like a little different from this. This is more like face to face, and you know, because like at the end of the day, I want to have more people on bikes and want to be stoked to ride with me, or just like get stronger, or you know, it doesn't have to be stronger, just like learn how to properly ride,
instilling that confidence.
I think it's that safe place to learn too, because like if you're in like a race where a pace line just starts up kind of organically, and like people might be like, just like, let's rotate, or like put a signal up, but they might not necessarily really explain anything. All of a sudden people just start moving.
Well, that's what happened last night on the ride. I mean, no one's like, let's do a pace line. It's just like all of a sudden people started rotating. We're like, oh, okay, I guess we're doing it. You're like, and that's what's so fun about racing, because like then it's like, instead of, oh, it's just one person doing all the work, it's like you guys are working as like a you're cohesive, and just like we're making up better time.
So a lot of times where I am, like as far as in like gravel races, it's a lot of middle-aged dudes, and like you'll never like really get into like a good coalescing group like all the time. You'll have it for a little bit, then you'll hit a climb and everyone will split up or things like that. And the first time I was in a truly rotating double pace line on gravel was I decided to do a pro women's start in Nebraska this summer. And all of a sudden we're doing it, and it's on live stream, and I'm moving towards the front, and I'm like, oh shit, do I remember how to do this?
Did you?
Yes.
Okay.
But I was like paying attention, like how long is the girl in front of me pulling for? Like how hard are people pulling through? Like it struck fear in my heart more than getting dropped on live stream.
Sometimes it's a lot of pressure. I understand. Like, you don't want to be the person that doesn't do the work, but you also don't want to do too much work. I understand. Well, I think this is a good segue into kind of your racing season and kind of recapping the whole season. I'm pretty sure you're done with the year as far as racing goes, right?
A little bit more cyclocross, but yeah, I'm very done.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's like a good time to recap, and we definitely want to talk about Dam, but I want to get to what you did before. So like, you didn't do anything before gravel camp, correct? Race-wise.
Ragnarok.
Ragnarok.
I yeeted myself looking back in crosswinds and
that.
bruised my ribs.
Yeah, let's go.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Wow, that was a long time ago already.
Yeah, I had come back from Bentonville for spring break the day before, and like I was just brutally windy, and like had done a little attack on another woman I was with, and then like looked back in crosswinds and just yeeted myself.
Like OTB?
No, because I landed on my bars.
Okay.
And I bruised my ribs.
Wow.
And it smacked my head.
Oh, ouch.
Jeez.
And I bruised my hand. And so, like, we still had a couple of really tough MMRs after that, and being like, well, how can I, like, puppy paw my way up this?
How did you crash in your bars? Or so how did you crash? Or like, I know you looked across and you didn't go. Did you say you went into a ditch? No?
So I like almost saved it, and then I think I landed on my bike.
Gotcha. Okay.
Kind of like weaved all around. The dads I was with are like, your face is fine, your bike is fine, let's go.
Just Like, did they give you
all
any
my
time?
are all
Or
my
just, like,
teeth there?
Just like, get up, let's go. Or did they like give you time to like?
So I was like, okay, let's go, and I like immediately tried to do a running mount, but I had gotten a rock jammed in my cleat somehow.
Oh.
So I do the running mount, and I like can't get my left foot clipped in, and I'm like trying to like smash into the pedal, and it isn't doing anything.
The frustration I
Yeah.
have just
So-
for you
Yeah.
right there. Is
So then the dads just think I need time, and they go off, and I end up sitting in the middle of the road, and like I can't quite figure out how to get this rock out because I'm still like a little bit rattled, and like I'm sitting in the road, and my dear friend Erin, who is the person who I was trying to get away from, rides up, and she's all chipper, and she's like, you know, what do you need and stuff, and I'm just like angry and jump on my bike and ride unclipped for like 5 more miles in the Lake City. And finally, like, I'm a little bit more level-headed, and it's like, okay, you need to take your multi-tool out and, like, get it out, like, loosen your cleat. Yeah.
I mean, we've all been there with just like some silly than mechanical, but you're in race brain still. And
Yeah.
Just like, I gotta go. Like,
Just this minor inconvenience that is just like enough to send you over the fucking edge.
Okay, so I want to flip it. What is your biggest race brain moment?
man.
Ooh.
Shoot. I'm like trying to think of like, it's probably been like, well, here, I'll just do one. I think it was 2014 state cross champs here in Minnesota. I crashed really hard. It just snowed the night before, and I crashed really hard. And I get on my bike, and my handlebars are like this, and I raced the whole race like that.
Yeah.
You know, they were crooked off to the right side, and I just continued to race like that. I was like, "Fuck it, I don't want to get off my bike. I'm already on, and like,
But
I gotta catch back on."
Oh, it was like so far off that you knew it was like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't like
it
a
was,
minor.
It was like a 45 degree,
And you just continue. How long did you ride like that?
about 40 minutes.
That's awesome.
I mean, I would say like any other like weird crashes that I've had. I mean, kind of the same situation where it's just like, you know, or you know, probably like forgetting to eat or something. You
Oh
know,
yeah.
Like,
I have that. Oh, I'm pretty sure I do that on every. Where it's just like, oh shit, it's been 2.5, 3 hours, and I can feel it coming on, and I know it's too late, so I start like hammering to recoup. My most memorable one is similar to a fit situation. This year, actually, at Doom, there's like the first single track section's like 10 miles, and I ate shit so hard on a bunch of switchbacks descending down at the end of it after the single track, like on a berm, overcorrected, over the bars, fucked up my knee. I still have like a pin in my knee, not like a medical pin, but just like I didn't actually go to the doctor for it. But my saddle, and I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna finish this, and then we'll figure it out once I get to like a flat. And I never did. And it wasn't like so far off that I was like in pain immediately, but it did. I had a lot of there was blood after that too, because of that though.
well, I mean, it's just kind of
It's stupid race brain. Just stop and fix it, dummy.
It's so frustrating to have to get off and fix it, but when you can just continue.
Well, okay,
Like
it's one thing to be
riding
like
5 miles with a rock in your shoe because you're not clipped in. Like, how annoying is that? But you still did it because
Yeah.
you're like, fuck it, I'm like too stubborn to fix it.
well, and for
And
you
I think-
two,
I
like
think-
the gravel, like you guys are riding these like fast-paced gravel, like you know where it is like a little bit more cutthroat than like Doom,
Yeah,
where I
Doom,
fucking stopped for like 16 hours over 3 days. Like I should have just stopped and fixed it right there because it would not have made a difference. That is, yeah. And anyway.
Well, actually, I do have feedback from people that are watching this or listening. What is your best race brain story?
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah,
On-
I
on
don't
point.
I don't know if I've ever really thought about that. I love that question though.
Yeah.
I'm sure I have way more that is probably forgot because of who wants to remember those?
Nutrition and hydration is a huge one for me,
Yeah.
and any like inconvenience for bike fit. But so Ragnarok,
Yep, Ragnarok. I tried to do Granny's gravel grinder, and then I just got cold, and someone else was turning off, and I'm like, this looks like a better life plan. But I think for me, that being kind of like it was a week after gravel camp, and just kind of in that mindset of like, I'm pushing towards all of these other things. I'm pushing at work as far as like different projects going on. Like I felt like I was trying to give in too many different places, and I just cried uncle, and it kind of helped reset for what was to come.
so did you start or you were registered and didn't do it?
I started.
Okay.
I made it like 40 miles, including somebody took a left in front of a string of cars, and I was the only person to not make it too, being like, guys, what are we doing?
What a bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's dude, that's so devastating too, because you're like, oh well, there goes the group I was with.
Yeah.
I did make it back, but I was just mad when I made it back.
Well, congrats on making it back, because that's the half the battle. No, more than half the battle there. It's like, it's so hard to chase someone.
Especially if you were already having a tough go at it, and then just like having to work that much harder.
It was so soupy, and yeah.
Granny's gravel grinder. So that is in what month?
It is the first weekend of May in Princeton, Minnesota.
Okay, and that's Chase Works.
Yeah.
Okay,
Chase, yeah.
one of 3, right?
Yeah.
Or 2? I don't know.
Yeah.
Hot dish.
Hot dish.
Yeah.
Granny's. Okay, yeah, 2. And that you said May.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. What was after Granny's?
Oof.
You did Lutzen, didn't you, or no?
I did do Lutzen.
Did you do anything between Lutzen and Granny's?
I mean, not really. There was a small one that Andrew Barlage put on called Southside Strata, but I don't know if you know Dave Dominga.
Dave, yep.
6'10" of him decided that he was going to go from the gun in like a brutal 20-mile-an-hour headwind, and I am literally half Dave's size.
Dave, I think Dave actually listens to the pod.
To
the
this?
first episode, yeah.
He might
Hey
be
Dave,
the only.
you're listening.
Hey Dave.
I know. He doesn't
I don't know
work in the
Dave.
gravel world, so I talked to him about it.
Dude, I need to get down and do that.
Anyways,
with you.
sorry.
So, like, Dave and I have dueled in, like, cyclocross races before and stuff like that, but literally twice my size, and I find it hilarious. But just, like, that race being, like, I think I set power records and everything and still got dropped in the first half an hour. It's just like, is this going to be like, what's to come? And then, of course, Lutzen was Lutzen.
Yeah, I'm so glad I skipped it this year.
I'm like, I really wanted to try to make something happen there. I actually went up to do a full recon, and I was up during the storm. Like, this actually probably one of the scariest rides of my life was that they had an error on the route file of the course. So I ended up like bushwhacking for a while.
Oh,
like,
I remember the picture you sent me. Yeah, I was like,
way up there.
well,
and like,
wasn't that part of the course?
or they ended up changing it. I
Oh.
don't know. We didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't end up being an issue on race day, but like, I got very, very turned around to the point where I'm like, screw pre-riding, screw everything else. You need to not become a rescue case.
Yeah.
But I burned so much. Like, I knew that there was a storm coming in. I didn't know it would be like as big as it was. But I burned so much time up there and didn't even realize it. And then I'm like, okay, I'm safe. I'm like back on roads that I know, like maybe not quite pre-riding the course, but at least like I know where I am. And then the sky just turns black. I'm like, shit. And then the only way that I know to get back to where I'm parked is to ride down 61 in torrential downpour.
Oh yeah,
And
I feel that.
I ended up sleeping in my car that night. The next morning, I tried a recon ride, a little bit more of it. Like, there's just so much washouts. One of the main gravel road, like, drags that we go on east to west, like, I think I climbed over 10 trees in a mile, and I'm like, I'm not climbing it with my bike all day, and if I wreck out here, no one will get to me.
Yeah.
So that was like recon weekend.
Yeah.
How
that
far?
that was like 2 weeks before.
2 weeks before. Oh, that
It
was
was
my
like
question.
two and a half. It was over Juneteenth.
Yeah.
Okay. And then how was the actual event?
It was okay. It was muddy, very muddy. I was thankful for cyclocross skills until I wasn't. I did kind of the race brain things you mentioned of like some of those mud sections. I was working so hard just to stay on my bike that I didn't eat for like an hour and a half. And then I thought that I could make up and slam nutrition, and I thought that I could kind of try to like do a chase too. So I'm trying to basically like ride at threshold and have like an hour and a half's worth of calories in 20 minutes.
Oh, that's a very specific spot to be in, and I feel like anybody that's racing knows what how you felt.
Welcome, upset stomach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also I'm pretty new to mountain biking.
Yeah.
So like that was my third mountain bike race ever. So it was okay.
Yeah.
Like all things considered, like I think it was really great. It was cool to see all the community that really rallies around the race at Lutsen, but
It's a very special and unique event. Like, it's kind of it's a very weird mountain bike race because it's a lot of gravel roads, like way more than Schwamigan, if anybody's done Schwamigan. But like, and then you have like these random snowmobile trail sections, which you need the mountain bike for because it's just so bumpy. Because it could be done mostly on a gravel bike if you didn't have those one sections, but. And the years that I've done it, it's always been muddy. But this year specifically, it was just chaos.
yeah. It kind of, once Lutsen was done, I'm like, cool, I can use the mountain bike just for fun, try to work on skills progression a little bit more and not try to like force things. And like, it's gravel time. It's time to get ready for the dam. Like, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, by the way, this is your mountain bike right here.
It is.
If anyone's listening, we have her ambassador bikes right behind us, which is Orbea Oys and a Envy Mog.
Yeah.
So after Lutsen, we had, what did you have?
What did I do? Oh, I went to
anything in
this.
July?
Yeah, I went to this race called Nepomuk Gnarly that is
Oh,
in Pisak,
yeah,
North
yeah.
Dakota. It is a town of 86. They put on this big ass gravel race with a $10,000 prize purse, but more
Okay.
than just like all the fast people that show up. It's so cool to see the community rally around an event. Like the priest at the church is actually the race director.
What?
Yeah, and he like rides bike like a lot.
I have so many questions about this because I have heard bits and pieces about there's like 2 events or 3 events out in that same area that have these fucking crazy payouts out of these small communities. Do you know like how that works and why and how they're doing that?
So I know for Nepomuk that it is like Friar Lefeur just like gets all of this. I've heard rumors that there's a Bitcoin billionaire that lives up there. I don't know if that's true. But just seeing the community, like a prize purse alone would not get people up there. It's the fact that there was a free community meal on Friday, like just for all the
That's
racers.
cool.
It's like have pulled pork and hang out and like get to know everyone. And like literally anyone who asks gets set up with a host family.
Wow, that's
Jeez,
amazing.
That's so
I
cool.
stayed on a farm with goats, and it was the second year in a row that I had stayed with that host family and with another racer who joined, Adam Sabin.
Oh, yeah.
And his wife this year too. And our host family just went out and picked peas in the pod, and literally we just sat there shelling peas and being like, okay, like what's happened in the last year? What's new? What are you doing with your life? Like,
That's super cool.
it's just
Wow.
so wholesome.
That is really cool.
I'm
I
awful-
didn't know that stuff
Yeah.
about Nepomuk.
I loved the weekend. My race was, not great. The con of a co-ed start like that was I saw a few of the pro men like look at each other and both of their butts go up and they start to attack, and I'm like, damn it. And, you really like just didn't make the break, and you know, a few women get out and like you know, are surfing those wheels, and like I just see it go away, and ended up having a very, very long day on the prairie.
Sure.
But it was
How
good
many
practice for a dam.
people like turn out for that race or a race like that? Because like I said, I think there's the Lion's Heart.
Yep.
Is that a similar area?
It's further west. Lion's Heart is in Mandan or like by Bismarck.
But they also have a crazy payout and
Yeah.
a similar vibe, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So how many? I mean, I feel like I have pretty good pulls on like small and to mid to large gravel races in the country. How many people show up for like for a pro field on those races?
I'm not sure how many were in the 100. I think it was maybe
Roughly.
around 100, but there were also payouts for like the 40 mile.
Okay.
And there was a 16 mile ice cream ride, and there were a few hundred racers.
Wow, that's so cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. So Nepomuk, that was, you know, it was kind of a tough day. I was kind of like, am I going to be a day late and $1 short all year? But from the week after, I did Hot Dish, which is also another one of Chase Works races. Opted to do the 100K. Like, I never opt for the shorter distance.
Kind of nice though, isn't it?
It was so nice. And my dear friend who lives in La Crosse, Heidi Werner, she was also racing it.
Oh, nice.
And the start line was so funny because we had both copied each other's playbooks. Like, she is an absolute stellar climber, and she's mostly a triathlete. And I'm like, I need to make my bike as light as possible. No aero bars, no hydration pack. I'll bring a third bottle in my jersey pocket. Like, that's it. And she was all like, her husband told her that she had to run aero bars. That like, if Claire's on them, you have to run them. And like, she's running a pack because she's like, you know, there's not gonna be a foot down all day. And like, it was hilarious.
That's funny.
Yeah, that was my July.
Nice. And then you didn't have anything before Dam, right?
Nope.
And then Dam.
And then Dam.
And then Dam.
Beautiful. God damn.
Well, I can finally say it, but yeah, we're sitting right next to the women's course record holder,
Fucking champ.
which is sick. I'm so proud of.
Dude. I mean, yeah. I mean,
Tell the story about the night.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like, okay, so I intentionally was not going to like try to stay with the front, and I knew that, so I did not start out. I started like maybe a little bit ahead, halfway back, just because I was like, I'm not anyway. And I made it to the second group, and everybody broke away. So there's the front group with, I don't know how many you guys had.
It's probably like 20, 25 dudes, and then dwindled down.
And then a few people fell from that and dropped into our group, and Claire and I realized that we were in the same group and realized who was pulling and who was not pulling, and kind of we rode with that group for the first 90, 80 miles to Morton, 85 miles.
Yep.
And yeah, yeah, I mean, there was like a few really good pulls from both of us, and there's a lot of people that in that group that were not pulling at all. So props for staying on top of the rotation, because I was like doing my best to not, if I didn't have to, if there was like a rotation, because I was doing the 480, I was like, I'm not trying to burn anything. But
Oh, I didn't touch the front either.
oh, really?
No.
Oh, I thought you.
At one point, one of my good friends actually was on the front, and I saw just like the sleeves of his skin suit, and I'm like, oh, I want to go up there and like say hi. He had flatted out of the front group, but like I never made it up there.
Just
But
sitting in.
Just kind of like sat in, like we just flew the entire night, and I didn't actually know that I was in the lead until mile 70.
Yeah. Oh, and Chase.
When I stopped.
You had just stopped.
Yeah.
We got there, and Chase was there, and he was like, Claire and I were riding like side by side, or maybe I think I was behind you, but Chase was like, hey, Claire, you want an update? You're in first. And we both just lost it. We were just like, fuck yeah. And that was like right before we hit pavement, really cool descent onto a little bit of pavement before more gravel. And that was just such a great moment, like fist bump. And then we were just like,
That was the last I saw you, though.
yeah, that was like my favorite part of the race, the entire race, for real. Like, such a beautiful, I mean, that event in general, but
Yeah.
I don't want to take away too much from your recap. So
I don't know that there's that much to recap or like that much that I remember, except and
Talk
like
about race brain.
Well, okay,
Yeah.
the reason I don't really remember it is because your influence on me convinced me that I should caffeine taper.
Oh no.
So I was a little bit delayed on it. I like tapered caffeine down for a week, and then as a very prolific coffee drinker, did 10 days of absolutely no caffeine. And it was brutal.
Oh.
It was
All
so,
10 days were bad?
No.
It gets better after like 3, right?
Yeah.
But-
But it was still like, this is not going on forever. Like,
Yeah.
I just need the dam to be here.
Yeah.
And then, like, I was really scared of the night, or like scared of being sleepy and drowsy and just like the scary dark of the night.
Yeah.
And I had this like very intricate nutrition plan and a very intricate like caffeine plan. But the problem was that I went so much faster than my plan. And like all of a sudden I'm like leaving food on the table accidentally, or like can't see things. And I think I had 700 milligrams of caffeine. So
Between like for the entire race or that night?
for the entire race.
Okay. Still, that is
It's a lot of minutes in the caffeine.
fucked.
For
Wow.
a small human, like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I earned a nickname. Well, my nickname is Claire Bear, and a couple of the friends that were crewing me, like, definitely call me that. I don't love it, but then they're like, "You're Cocaine Bear now."
I like that.
There's actually a video of me at my first aid stop, and I'm like, "Oh, now I get it."
Oh, we should add that in here if you're cool with it.
Yeah.
Can we
you
get
send me
that?
the video? I can put it in the.
It's just me ordering everybody around. But I mean, so like the dam, like you talked, I remember us texting like as soon as I finished, and like obviously I was so bummed for you DNFing and the knee pain, and like you're like, how cool was the dawn? And I'm like, dude, I crashed right at dawn. I had like a mouthful of dirt and I lost my group. Like, it was the worst part of the day.
Was that after the climb
Yep, right after.
real on that flat? Like right
Yep.
oh fuck. So that was like right when the sun was coming up.
Yeah,
too.
I like had a good group, and there was a pickup truck coming, and all of a sudden we're all like hollering and try to move over, and it's really deep. I was last wheel, and I just got a wheel stuck and like ate shit.
Oh,
Damn, I didn't know that. Wow.
man, what
So yeah, how long did it take you to recover from that and like just
did
get your wits about you?
Just got like swarmed by another group, or did you just end up riding kind of more solo then for a while?
So like I like pity partied for a good 10 miles, and then I was like, you need to get out of this, like let's just like stop and pee. And I didn't look behind me before I did that. So the second I got undressed, this big train of like 8 guys just comes rolling by.
Shit.
And
Oh my gosh.
yeah. So and then I try to chase on it. I'm like, shit, like that was my moment. And like I tried to chase back on and like work way harder than I should for about 5 minutes. I'm like, that is gone.
Yeah.
And like eventually someone caught up to me. His name was Mike, and he'd actually been with you right after you had left me in that like night moment of awesomeness. And like we rode together for Drew Henderson, and like that was when my day turned around.
Nice. Yeah. What?
Did you
Sorry.
did you know that you were in first that entire time? Like between Chase telling you and then?
Yeah, so, well then, Coming out of the hill at Henderson, I didn't really know what my time gaps were, so I asked Chase, and he like looked up on track leaders, and he texted me that it was 8 miles. But then I get to my crew, and I'm like, it's 8 miles, right? And they're like, no, he's wrong, it's 4. So my crew gaslit me on time gaps all day.
That's
so
smart.
they were
It is
telling me
smart.
that it was like only like 4 miles all day long.
That's the
Wow.
way it should be, though. Like,
Yeah.
I mean,
You don't want to get too comfortable.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's awesome. So yeah, you had the lead though, like the entire day.
Yeah.
That's fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. It was kind of a scary place to be because in my mind, like I've always been kind of a bad starter and kind of a timid mass starter. So like I'm like, your race starts at dawn, like, you know, I might have to like chase back, like it's such a long race, there'll be opportunities. And then I had just like that amazing night and then it was just kind of there.
yeah. So what did you? So your what was your time? Your total time?
13:39.
13:39, which is it's hauling ass.
Yeah.
What was your average speed then? Yeah, it would have been like 18, 19?
17.9.
Okay. Which, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, what? I guess my was that your longest ride you've ever done?
No, not by time.
Not by time.
By distance,
By distance
it
it
was.
was. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, by distance. What was your longest ride before that? Or like time-wise?
Time.
Unbound.
Unbound, okay.
In
Yeah.
2023
Yeah,
with the
which, you know, it's a bit of a different beast, Unbound. I mean, what, like that's 10,000 feet of elevation gain, isn't it?
mud. Yeah, I think.
Over how many miles?
200.
Yep.
Shit.
Yeah. But that's awesome. And second place, how far were they end up behind you then?
About 50 minutes.
And
Okay.
50 or 15?
50.
And who was that?
Amber Sear from Wisconsin.
Okay.
She went on to do Gravel World's Long Voyage, which is 300 miles 2 weeks after. Which,
You know how she did?
yeah, she got second.
Wow. Congrats.
I mean-
Amber,
That's
Amber,
awesome,
if you're
yeah.
listening.
For real.
So my Gravel World.
we need to have you on the pod.
Yeah.
Yeah, my Gravel Worlds ended with me puking all over the road because it was 97 degrees
Oh.
and my legs were fried, and so literally I have no idea how she did it.
We'll jump into that real quick, but I just kind of want to maybe kind of conclude. Damn, but yeah, I'm proud of you. I know Nick is, and
Oh,
like,
yeah.
we're just. I
Seriously.
was just so stoked to see, and it was as much as I hated to be not racing. It was awesome to be home in bed. I slept for a little bit, and I woke up and just tracked the hell out of you guys on track leaders, and then everybody else that I was wanting to watch. So it was fun to see. So
Yeah, for
congrats
real
on
though. I was 2 days. My favorite part of the entire race was that moment when Chase told you, we kind of rode away from Chase, fist bumped, and then kept riding. Like that feeling and that like the exact scenery will be ingrained in my brain for a very long time.
There's
So-
video of that, actually.
What?
Yeah.
Of us fist bumping or Chase?
Of Chase yelling at me and telling me to ride faster.
Oh,
there's a Chase's video.
that's awesome.
Good job. Clay, you want an update?
Yeah!
You're winning.
Fuck yeah!
Go faster.
So okay, damn, bravo again.
Yeah, for real.
What a
Killed
damn
it.
good job.
Damn fine job.
Damn fine job.
It was just such a fun day, and I stopped trying to like figure out who people were cheering for me and just like enjoyed it. And I think the best part was a local Red Wing guy pulled even with me as I'm riding into Red Wing, and I'm like kind of reactive and like flip around, and he's like, I'm not in the race, like I'll be at the finish later, you're doing great. And like I told him that I was going to set the course record because at that point, barring catastrophe, like I had it in the bag. And I like started to tear up a little bit, and I'm like,
You were solo at this point?
yeah.
Yes.
So what was course record before this year?
Kate Coward set it in 2020 at 15 hours flat.
Damn, Claire. Good shit.
Hell yeah. Congrats again.
Kate's gonna be motivated. She's gonna take it back.
Maybe. Or you can go next year again and set your own course record again.
Let her rip.
I mean, there was a course record on the men's side too, which was done by Eno, which was ass. I mean, I was with him for 70 miles, and we were flying. It was crazy.
What were you guys averaging? Like the first group that you were in?
I looked down. We were almost 23 miles an hour.
Average.
Yeah.
Holy fuck, bud.
Yeah. Oh fuck, bud. Yeah, it was.
I mean, not to like take anything away from that front group, but like it was like the perfect scenario for setting records. I mean, the tailwind,
it was
the cool weather,
yeah.
no rain, no humidity. It's like my favorite riding conditions. And it wasn't too cold either. It was like the perfect in between.
I got kind of cold overnight.
Like in the valleys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I was bundled up.
Yeah, when I eventually dropped from the front group and kind of slow rolled to call my dad, I immediately started to freeze. I was like,
when you like put a foot down.
Yeah, I had we don't talk about my dam, but yeah, I was freezing. But I remember that from 2021 too, when I was in the front with Chase and Aaron. I just remember like I was good for 3 hours, and then 3 o'clock hit, and it got really cold, and I was like, we're not riding as hard as we were, and I'm freezing now.
It was so cold. 2021.
But kind of run out of time here, but I wanted to kind of talk about your gravel worlds and having the pro women's start and the separate, and like, you talked about a little bit with like how you were riding with co-ed group or co-ed start, and then women are just being able to ride with the dudes, and then you kind of just get spread out. So
yeah.
I know it didn't end up being a great day, but it had been really fun. And you also talked about how you were able to get into like a pace line, and like you got to experience that, which I feel like you don't really probably get to experience that often, do you?
Yeah, like I have never won a race and known I've won. Well, until the dam.
Yeah.
I guess I knew I had to, but like most of the time you have no idea.
Yeah.
Like when I won Ragnarok, like literally I sat on the ground and swore because like I just had no idea all day. Like you start and then all of a sudden you're swarmed, and like you can try to like watch wheels and like watch people, but like it takes like one turn or like one thing happening and all of that goes out the window. So like, and also so much of it becomes like luck too, and like what groups you can get with, and there are really no tactics except ride as long as you can and don't take a lick of wind.
Yeah.
And so that was the cool thing about they had this initiative of like doing the separate pro women's starts and separating not only from the pro men but also the amateur field.
Oh, nice.
I had done this event like 2 years prior, and it'd always been like a really good opportunity. Like the first time I did it, it was like the first big gravel race I had done and the longest event I had ever done. But once they announced that like separate start, I was actually really torn because it kind of is like, okay, do I want to hang out with Masters dudes all day, or do I want to get shot out the back on live stream? So I kind of was like, I don't really know what to do, and I wasn't going to do the pro start, and then I had a great day at the dam, and I'm like, whatever happens.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to like, exist in that peloton, and like I actually got dropped with another woman at like mile 36, and like we put out together like a 5-mile chase and made it back.
Oh, wow.
And that would just like never happen if it like
Sure.
the women's groups are rolling with other motivated male riders that kind of pull it all along.
Yeah.
And so then someone attacked the feed zone, and then that was it for me. Kind of like it was 97 degrees that day, still rolled along for a while, eventually just lost my stomach contents in the road and called it.
Well, I remember like a couple weeks later, we had set up the cross course for Tuesday Night Cross, and you were just like, I could tell Claire was not the Claire that she usually is. She was just like, I'm so fucking done with this, all this, blah, 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 you know, like but the thing is, like, you know, I mean, I'm surprised Nick doesn't go through this, because like when I did Day Across Minnesota in 2021 and got second, I was like, I don't want to ride a bike anymore. I don't understand how you keep on just doing all these long distance rides, but
we should definitely like have a conversation about that. Maybe this isn't the platform, but like, you know, it is so different for everybody. And me, I wish I would have started in, like, you know, you look at like Ben, Tesh, and like, I wish I would have started, and you did too. Like, I wish I would have started cycling, and that was my thing from the get-go.
Sure.
But I didn't. I was like polar opposites into drugs and alcohol, and a lot of my early adult years even into just partying, and found it afterwards. And, you know, there's a lot of people that are like doing endurance cycling now that are like either running away from something or like just riding their way through mental health. And I do think it's worthy of an entire episode of just chatting with multiple people about it, and maybe having a few guests on, or doing some different platform. But yeah, that is how I keep going, is not chasing something or not running away from something necessarily, but that is like, I mean, you know this, and I mean, maybe you do too at this point with how much we've gotten to know each other, but my life consists of my family, my son, work, and cycling, and that's it. And that's all I do. I don't have any other hobbies, and it's kind of boring to other people, but that is what I enjoy doing, which is why I can go for, you know, 600 miles, or hopefully next year, 2,900 miles.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like perspective on all of us and what we're dealing with inside of our own lives.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
Yeah.
But like, I know for sure, like after Day Across Minnesota in 2021, I was like fried, but I still ended up racing all fall.
Yeah.
Cyclocross. So
I think what was really hard for me about that whole like August block was like, I got launched sky high from the dam.
Dude,
and like it was great. Like I will hold that memory rent free in my head forever. But like going from so high to, okay, I'm gonna do my first pro start ever, I'm gonna be anxious as all get out for it. Like the only saving grace of that weekend was I decided that I was just gonna cook meals for all my friends like the nights before, and just like hang out. And like we had a gravel camper stay with us and some other people who don't always get to be in the same room together, and just that community beforehand. I'm like, what happens tomorrow at the race happens. Like, this is where it's at right now. But I had the sad tires like pretty bad, and it took me a while to finally like level out, to not only get over the physical exhaustion, just kind of like process everything. And like I'm glad I didn't like pack it all in, and I kept racing a little bit of cyclocross to the point where like last Tuesday night I finally just got to like go out and have a fun race where I didn't want to crawl in a hole after.
Yeah. Well, and it just takes time to, I mean, as you said, you got a super huge high from Day Across Minnesota and just feeling like you were on top of the world. Like winning a bike race, I mean, you've done it now too. It's exhilarating. It's like, holy shit, what the heck has happened? Like, you know, I've felt that with like Lutzen, for instance. Like that was the craziest thing I think I've ever won. And like, then the next year I go do it and I get 10th. I'm just like, whoa, what the heck? You know, it's just like devastating to the rider. Yeah. And you know, like you went into gravel worlds with like, I'm gonna go hang out, but you still probably had like expectations that you were gonna do fucking awesome, especially after doing Day Across Minnesota, and you're just like,
I did what I did, and honestly, I just didn't want to get trapped on live stream. But I did drop a bottle during rollout.
Oh, well,
we're
that
like
sucks.
a mile and a half in, and I'm just like nervous, and I drop it, and it was gonna be 97 degrees. I had we were still under neutral, but I had no choice but to go get it. I would have died otherwise that day. And it was none other than national champ Lauren Stevens hollering, like, I'll wait, like, I won't let them attack. But, like, I think my max power for the day might have been chasing back the roll.
That's so nice that
Wow.
She offered that. That's great.
Yeah.
I felt like such a noob though.
What can you do?
Yeah.
Well, what can you do?
Well, what can you do? Yeah, I think we're probably they're definitely gonna have to have you on the pod again. I mean, we didn't really get to
For
recap
sure.
everything, but we're at an hour and 20 minutes now, so
Yeah.
should probably call it a pod, just because I'm sure people might be losing their interest at the end of this. But
We're losing them.
listen up, you're gonna listen.
You're gonna like it.
Full hour and 20 minutes,
or
else.
to the-
why I oughta.
Maybe 3 people that are listening still. Thank you.
I mean, we could I just want to flip the mic on you guys so much, like
Maybe
in
that's
your
what we do.
progressions. Like you talk about like Ben Tesh and like you wish you had found cycling when you were younger. When I was running, like I had no idea that people like raced bikes recreationally. I thought that my only way to like keep racing as a adult would be to like do marathons.
We should, yeah. I mean, maybe we'd have that conversation,
Yeah.
and like, maybe as the 3 shop ambassadors for this year, like maybe we just have that conversation of like how we found cycling, maybe some of our non-cycling past, and like what, from a mental standpoint, what it does for us, whether it's
We could
competitive
just
or
do
not.
a part 2.
Part 2 with Claire Bear 5000.
No, cocaine.
Sorry, AKA Claire, AKA Cocaine Claire.
Is it Cocaine Claire or Cocaine what? Bear?
Cocaine Bear.
Cocaine Bear was a 2023 movie.
Wait,
Just
what?
go watch the
Wait.
trailer. It's
What?
Yeah.
Is it just like Ted?
No, it's
Cocaine Bear was a movie?
of like a cocaine shipment that a bear in the wild gets a hold of, and it's just like,
Okay. I'll have to check that out. Interesting.
I mean, I watched the trailer and then I realized what my friends went through trying to like crew for me and chase me across the state.
So we went through some of the FTW, the gravel camp kind of outline, and recapped your year. What, if you can give me a member, someone that's not a member of the FTW community, some like, not advice necessarily, but like, I learned a few years ago that as much as I am passionate about like wanting to create space for everybody, BIPOC and FTW community, like this straight white male has no fucking place saying I want to do all this stuff for these communities and fucking sideline. But with that being said, and you knowing that I have that insight, like what more can I do or not do to make cycling more accessible for FTW community?
Like, as you said, you might not be in the position to lead the work, but that doesn't mean you can't help do the work. The greatest source of burnout that I've seen in like fellow FTW racers is like always trying to like build our fields, like get people out, build the community, like advocate for, our own fields and races or whatever it is. And like, it gets tiring. It feels like we're the only ones that are raising our voice, but like, add your voice to that. Like, listen to what that community says they want and amplify it.
For sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, with that.
Thank you.
Mic drop?
Mic drop.
Mic drop again. Second one of the night from Claire, Cocaine Claire.
Cocaine Bear. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
I really
thanks,
look
Claire.
forward to talking to you again.
I think we might just
on
have to do a
podcast.
part 2
Yeah.
for the next one, and then we'll get to all the other stuff. So
Yeah.
I just want to interview you, like, as my, like, past in journalism and stuff, like, I want to dive deep into, like, 10-year-old Bauer racing Schwamm again.
I got lots of stories
Oh,
about Schwamm again.
Please, Josh's mom, if you're listening, you just have to load us full of photos and videos from those early on races between then and now.
Yeah, Kelly, if you're listening, I know you are, because you're like one of the people that view this.
Thanks, Ma.
Thanks, Mom. Yeah, we'll need some pictures. And Todd, too. TMB images, if you're
TMB.
listening. I know you had the photos, so. But, yeah, thanks, Claire, for being on. Thanks, everyone, for listening on episode 3.
Yeah.
We'll finish with a part 2, or actually, yeah, maybe it won't even be part 2, but it'll just be us race ambassadors again and just talking about anything and like what we,
Get to know the ambassadors of ACF.
yeah.
If
All right.
for anybody that cares. Thanks again.
Yep. Ciao.